although I do think that Yolo has more of a hard carry streak as opposed to Chinen. Gosu, Raphael, both control mage players. XQ and PentaQ are technically kind of mini Uzis, or that's the playstyle that they try to emulate, but it kind of comes back and bites them because they're not as quite refined as Uzi.
No, well...
And then 2 playmaking supports.
Takes a number of games to be as refined as old Uzi, but certainly solid players across the board. We are going to get into the first game, though. Bans are almost done. HYG on the blue side have taken out Lulu, Trundle, and Maokai. So 2 top lane champions sort of there, with the Thresh, Echo, and Azir banned out by M3.
Glad to see the Maokai priority ban there. Again, I just think that champion's way too long, or way too strong, way too long.
Way too long?
Yep, long played yesterday.
Definitely had some good Maokai games as well, so I can understand the slip, as there's Rise locked in for HYG. I like it.
We've seen Invictus Gaming in particular, rip Invictus Gaming, IG in particular picking up the old Rise, so priority pick for Hyper Gaming, giving that carry potential. You have to think it's going to go into 17's hands. Not that Gosu can't play it, but it just really doesn't fit his MO.
No, certainly not. Not really a control mage, as it turns out, so I agree there. We'll see if they want to flex it, though, because they do have the option. M3 now lining up their first 2 picks on their side of the map, side of the draft, excuse me.
Could be the other side of the map.
Not yet.
Big priority picks left open are going to be key junglers, so you have Nidalee, Kindred, Gragas all up and available. Likewise, Sivir. We saw a lot of Sivir bans yesterday. She's become quite popular in the LPL. We always know that Braum and Alistar are going to be contested.
Everyone loves Braum. Whenever he's available, it feels like teams just want to first pick him. We mentioned bottom lane could be a contentious point here for these teams. Feels like taking a strong bottom lane is a great start to a draft. Lucian and Braum will be the picks.
The other thing that I really wanted to point out is both these AD carries really need high mobility, a lot of Ezreal, a lot of Lucian. We did say that PentaQ and XQ will be 2 of the AD carries that will play Kog'Maw, but most of the time they need the survivability because their positioning in lane can get quite questionable sometimes.
And I've noticed this a lot. Like, classically in the LPL, we had a lot of Thresh players, excellent Thresh players, but that was sort of the overall breadth of their champion pool. I feel the same way for a lot of the lower tier LPL teams with their AD carries, is that they've definitely got the talent, they've definitely got the mechanics, but a lot of them lean on Lucian in particular as their AD carry of choice. So not really surprised to see it taken away.
I think it's because they try to ride more on their mechanical ability as opposed to their 5v5 or team fighting ability, decision making in particular. So naturally Lucian's going to empower that style of play because he's just so powerful 2v2.
Yeah, really is good. As we do have Poppy locked in for HYG, so it is going to be Gosu most likely taking the Rise. Still some flexibility there, but this I like. Chimin is going to get Nidalee.
Again, Rusty probably covered this yesterday, but I'll just echo his statements. Nidalee has the fastest clear time of any jungler on 6.6, which she was adjusted. She can no longer root the creeps with her pounce, but they gave her 15 plus damage on it, which is pretty ridiculous for an AoE.
So a little less flexible and a whole lot faster is sort of the summary of that. And this is the thing, when we casted yesterday, we saw no Nidalee being picked up, surprisingly, in that particular best of 5, but we know her strength. Chimin clearly knows it as well because he's going to take it away here. Very curious to see what an aggressive jungler like Chimin can do on that sort of power pick. M3, though, do need to make a few more adjustments to their draft. That's 3 AD carries potentially as far as current picks, but we'll see what they lock in here. I think that's probably a bit more appropriate, Raphael. All right, you know what? I'll let him do him.
I really want him to pick Jace because Jace... I'm not surprised because Jace was touched on 6.6. But I said that Corki's the most played champion between both of these mid laners, Gosu and Raphael. So no surprise, it's a control mage.
And oh, shoo, you hurt me. That was an Annie, very briefly, an LPL classic. But not today. It will be Kalista instead. Corki Graves over on the M3 side. So triple AD carries plus a Braum currently in line there for M3. And with Kalista locked in, they've got their choice of what they want to pair it with. I wish it was Annie, but I think it's just going to be Alistar.
No surprises there. Alistar and Braum, the 2 supports going through. But it's really important that Masters 3 got the Braum in the initial rotation, not only, like you said, because he's a very strong pick into lane. He empowers early invades at level 1 due to the power of his Q. But more importantly, it's a triple AD carry composition. They're all about sieging towers, and Braum puts a damper on that real quick.
Certainly does. Rain straight on your parade. As HYG taking their time with their final pick, but I don't think they want to swap things up. Not long left, though, if they do want to change their minds, but they'll leave it at the hover. It is going to be Alistar locked in for their final pick.
I actually feel like Hyper's gaming composition is much more balanced in terms of where these champions are going to spike. Again, you have Nidalee, who's going to have ridiculous early game pressure. will ramp fairly decently into mid into late game as a poke champion, especially more so her primal surge and the heal that can offer into late game. But then you have Kalista that picks up at the 2-item power spike, and then you have Ryze that picks up at the 3-item power spike, and then 2 great disengage champions of the Alistar and the Poppy.
Yep. On the other side for M3, though, it's 3 AD carries and 2 tanks as they last pick the Nautilus. There is nothing particularly special or fancy about the comp, just brute force and hard work there for M3 and their champions. But when it gets going, triple AD carry is real good.
It also means that Hyper Youth Gaming has to be very diligent about their macro play in between their map movements. They need to make sure that they're always on top of their towers, because if they're ever out of position, the chip damage or just the straight siege from Corki, Lucian, and Graves is so potent.
Yeah, and conversely for HYG, they've got decent sieging power, but it's not nearly on the same level as M3. They've got pretty much a Nidalee heal for a bit of extra help, but with a Ryze in mid lane and even a Kalista in the bottom side, be curious to see if we have a lane swap.
It's kind of a more well-rounded composition of where Hyper Youth Gaming are potent and powerful, whereas Masters 3, on the other hand, they have like a big power spike into mid-game, and if they can just start sieging towers and snowball a global gold off of their structures, I think they can run away with this game.
Well, we're expecting a lot of snowballing in this series in particular. Game 1, always an important pace setter more than anything else. This could go one of 2 ways. The coaches are going to shake hands, and we'll see what's going to happen. We are going to get ourselves under Summoner's Rift. And here we are for the first game between Hyper Youth Gaming and Master 3 for our first ever game and match of the promotion tournament. Only 2 teams from this tournament are allowed back into the LPL for the summer. We'll find out who's going to get one step closer today, as 4 LPL teams will actually do battle. We'll lose 2 from our beloved league, Frostgrown.
Quite a punishing tournament there, immediately taking out 2 LPL teams and giving the LSPL teams a weighted bracket. But we do see the the Keystone Masteries appearing on the bottom of your screen. So Battle of Fervor for the Lucian, no surprises there. Again, we have the Windspeaker's Blessing on Alistar. We talk about this at length, but Alistar's E was changed on 6.6, so I was curious whether teams or players are going to be a bit more flexible between Bond of Stone versus Windspeaker's Blessing.
Yep. Cool to see that the Strength of Ages has been adapted as well. Been something that we're seeing a little bit more of, but other than that, pretty standard. Actually,
and
very standard.
Ryze not going for the... what is it? Thunder? I can never remember. Storm Raiders. No,
that's true, actually. Storm Raiders Search has been the other popular one. But Ghost will stick with Strength of the Ages this time around. Looks like at level 1, everyone's just hanging out, though. Although HYG have already gone. They've booked it towards the top side. So we are going to get a lane swap. M3 going to get themselves an interesting 2v1, but XQ and Shu are spotted moving in towards that top half of the map. Yep,
and immediately the response from YOLO there to move towards his strong side of the map, or at least move off onto the red buff, so Alistar and Kalista won't be able to peek where they started.
Ooh, looks like Sawoki's actually going to spot Chimin, though, and that's probably going to force him off that camp. Nidalee can't really stay. Takes a lot of damage in the jungle now, despite the speed. Good little pressure there from Savoki, but Chimin does return to try and clear the camp. Little dangerous, but should be okay.
Yep, and we will have the lane swap initiated. Savoki's like, get off.
So get off my camp. There was a caveat to it being okay. Chimin had to leave, but he's... Oh, sorry, Savoki had to leave, but he's not. Pressure actually down. No Ignite, thankfully, for the Braum. So Chimin probably safe, but he's going to pull S17 up towards the camp, and Chimin just... Savoki, sorry, is going to keep at it here. He's not letting them go at all.
Very healthy. He is going to proc his stun there, so... 2v1, Savoki comes out on top, but this is what we're talking about. Unlock this guy into a lane swap, he'll make plays for you.
Yep, and you can see, just going to continue slowing people down. Takes quite a lot of damage in the exchange, but delays them for so long that he's probably bought a good amount of time for M3. So good early play there from the Braum. Should still be back in time to help push down the wave once it's been stacked up by PentaQ. So we'll see how the rest of the lane swap develops, but early jungle pressure does go to M3.
Yeah, and that's going to be massive because, again, Nidalee is so quick in the jungle right now, and you are correct that it did buy time for Master 3, but... more importantly, slowing down that champion for how strong she is. Yep. Excellent
Left
play.
untouched. She'll do exactly this. So the S17 is going to help out. Be able to tank up most of this, which is nice. And that blue buff does go over to Chimin. So some adjustments here have to be made by HYG, but they should be around similar timing As far as initial pushes go, YOLO, though, does book it over to the HYG red buff. He'll be able to take that one away. And if HYG do not check that top side, they'll actually keep their red buff as well. So S17 is going to move up now. He'll start himself a nice big push here as this wave's starting to stack in. And looks like both teams are just going to get the standard early push down onto the respective outer turrets.
And again, we always talk about it's so much more important what happens after this initial tower falls, where teams go, whether they're going to duck into Fog of War and try to make a gank play onto perhaps the mid lane, or if they're going to have a gentleman's agreement, swap lanes, and just continue to siege the outer tier towers.
Seems like HYG have done a great job here pushing in. Should have more than enough creeps left over. But XQ's just going to take out a few more for himself there. And another wave does come in, so I think they're actually going to have to keep pushing here. Maybe not.
I actually really like when teams continue to push through, especially when they have an Italy, but it looks like they're not going to. Again, as the new wave will come in, the creeps will actually naturally change aggro, and so you can really slow down and control it, but they did not do that.
No, actually a big wave left there. M3 tanked a few tower hits. Savoki got quite low, but you can see on the other side they managed to actually get that wave pulled back nice and far.
And what's really important that Spawn really likes to point out is when you bounce your wave better, it buys you time. And with that slight advantage in time, you can actually do something like either set some deep vision down, possibly even look towards a Rift Herald depending on your composition. So we'll see how Masters 3 handle this swap back, and they're not even sending Lucian and Braum towards the top lane. They're sending them back bottom. So again, this is what's important after the initial towers fall, is what this next rotation turns into.
And it's the little things that really matter. You can see wave being built up there. Just a few extra creeps for HYG as S17 actually does get enough time to keep pushing up here. The fact that XY is coming up top lane does mean that S17 was surprisingly safe to push that far up on his own. But you can see the CS discrepancy. He's going to have to start playing catch-up.
And what's important here is that he got the tank minion underneath that tower, so he will be able to bounce and reset the wave, but gank on mid lane.
Chimin looking for a good snare there from Raphael, but the spear's already been thrown out. Chimin, bit of a misfire there on that gank. Raphael gets away.
Yeah, just slightly mismanaged there. Naturally, of course, the snare should have come down and given a free spear as opposed to spear trying to hit a mobile target. But good attempt there, and I like the pressure that Chimin's offering.
Yep, you can see he did take the red buff out of M3's side of the jungle also, so buffs will be equal as YOLO moves into mid lane just to babysit the wave for a little bit.
Trying to pull creep aggro and freeze it.
I like this a lot. Making sure Raphael stays healthy. He's going to keep the wave back there off the turret. And we'll actually return to some different standard lanes. Or alternative standard lanes.
I mean,
they're technically 2v2, but this is not even.
Yeah, and I feel like what you're really opening up here is PentaQ and Savoki saying that we want to have kill pressure on Kalista, which is naturally always going to be dangerous because she is very potent and powerful. But if they do get jungle pressure, that's so much farther to run back to safety of your inner turret.
Elongated standard lanes, I guess. I'm not sure. We'll have to think about the naming on that one. But it's definitely different as Chimin takes away the Grump. Flying through the jungle now at level 5. Got that Tracker's Knife down already. But YOLO also doing a nice job farming. Getting himself pretty quickly towards the Warrior enchantment. Does have a longsword already in pocket. As Chimin with the red buff. Going to look back into the jungle of M3, but no jungle left to take, unfortunately, as Gosu is stacking up that tier nicely. Looks like Raphael's going to return after a bit of aggression there in the mid lane. Have himself a Sheen and a Ruby Crystal, so looking for Phage into Trinity Force.
I want to quickly touch on the CS discrepancies. Obviously, the most alarming one is going to be between the two top laners, 13 to 25 in favor of XY. And again, it just comes down to how much more appropriately Masters 3 bounced the wave and forcing 17, instead of to focus on last hitting, resetting his wave as quickly as possible so he wouldn't be frozen so extended.
Savoki caught actually is only level 3. Good damage in there from the spears. Savoki going to have to run a whole way away, but does stand behind eventually. Good run from XQ, but that's the stun going to come in. Will threaten XQ with concussive blows. Savoki does live to tell the tale, but that got awfully close for a deep ward.
Yeah, kind of a questionable call right there. Like you said, does live to fight another day, and they do manage to zone off Kalista, so trying to eke a bit more of a CS discrepancy between the two AD carries, but so far, XQ and PentaQ doing fine.
Yeah, keeping up very nicely as once again, Gosu goes in for it. Raphael going to try and turn and fight, but Gosu does more than enough damage in this exchange. And now Chimin's back again. Now Raphael's going to have to burn the Valkyrie.
Chimin again whiffing on the spear right there. I just feel like it's just slightly not as coordinated as it could be. Again, Rise gives you that really nice free snare. The reason why Maokai works so well in the current meta is because of his Twisted Advance and how strong snowball junglers are. And the Twisted Advance gives you pretty much a free skill shot. So if you are in Italy, nail the spear. Rise is going to work in a very similar way, so just set it up.
Yep, window is a little smaller, but I agree. The spirit of the gank is there, but not quite together there for HYG just yet. As Chimin looking for something. She was actually going to check Savoki. Try and clear out this pink ward. Chimin's there to defend, so Savoki probably can't do this on his own. M3 going to pull at least their mid laner. YOLO's in the area as well. This is adorable. Blocking off the autos with his shield just to clear a ward.
He has to, though. Look at the item disadvantage between the two supports. So you have the Sight Stone completed for Alistar right now, but Savoki's just sitting on a health crystal. That pink ward is so important to them simply because there's no other resources for laying down vision outside trinkets.
Well, they do keep their vision. Chimin, though, continuing to jungle away. This blue buff is up, likely going over to Gosu, who does now walk himself over to collect it. Again, Italy very fast through the jungle. And there's Gosu able to pick that up. Massive damage on that Rise Q, actually. You can see where sort of some of that power got transferred. There's S17. He's busy farming away. Still behind XY, but should be okay. There's M3 trying to push this lane down, but XQ going to leave it here for as long as possible. Feels like M3 aren't too worried at how far extended they are down this lane.
They know that they get to be this extended because they saw Rise exit from the lane, so they understand that Chimin is on the top side of the map, meaning that they can be this far extended. And again, Savoki is sitting on a health crystal. They don't actually have vision on top of them to keep them safe, so it's about how they're managing their information. We do see now that Chimin's running down through lane phase, so this gets a bit scarier, which is why you see Savoki and PentaQ being like, it's been a bit.
Yep, time to bail. So they do actually back off, give them some breathing room there as Kalista went back earlier, got a Rico bow to adding with that Dorans and Cull start. So decent stats here building up as looks like these bottom lanes will just trade farm back and forth, bouncing towards those slightly longer lanes. Chimin, though, now on the red buff, should be able to clear that out very quickly for himself. We'll see if he can convert some of this into gank pressure as Raphael goes for a look.
Yeah,
it's a spear.
We kind of had a little bit of a mini collapse from multiple members of Masters 3. They do have the dragon control, which is why Yellow's going to go ahead and pull the trigger on this again. Dragon control because they have control of the bottom side of the map due to that first tier tower being taken down.
Raphael with the packet is good timing as well. But no contest here from HYG means that M3 will get themselves Dragon #1.
And typically in a scenario like this, HYG would be playing to their strong side of the map, which is top side using Rift Herald, but package used.
Yeah, Chimin actually, I think, pounced out of the way. Had to burn the flash, actually, so used an additional summoner to create some distance. Does get out safely, but Raphael just hits the W button and gets a flash out of it.
Yeah, burns the summoner, loses the dragon. They're not in position to contest for Rift Herald. We'll see if Chimin's able to organize his team and look for some sort of objective on the map. But right now, Hyper Youth Gaming just kind of passively losing this early game.
Yeah, I like the threat there from Gosu. Pops the ulti, runs forward. Raphael, though, does respect the distance. Manages to keep out of the way of those Rise spells. Ward in the red buff, though. Chimin actually going to go looking for it, but YOLO's in the area.
He doesn't necessarily have control to make this. Yes, he's got control from the mid lane because Gosu stepped forward with his ultimate and got that creep wave pushed in. But the thing is XY on your map right now, having the inner track and able to rotate down quicker means that Chimin is forced to back off.
Yep, YOLO keeps that buff. He's got the Warrior enchantment done as well, so he's really strong right now as a Graves for the early minutes of this game. Culling burnt in bottom lane by PentaQ will actually poke out XQ just enough to get Kalista to back off towards the longer part of that lane. Again, the amount of ground HYG's duo has to cover to get back to a safe spot by a turret is pretty deep towards their own side of the map, so have to be careful here. Don't want to get ganked. Although Graves, not a whole lot of CC is going to contribute to that gank, but he will kill you if he has enough time.
Yeah, if he's able to catch you. There's also the item discrepancies between the two AD carries. The fact that PentaQ has his 2 longswords as well as the BF. Tons of flat damage available to him, which is why he is fairly safe playing aggressive and forward, despite the fact that he's against a Kalista.
Boost attack speed here for XQ, but with those poke trades is the old Lucian. As Catalyst done for Gosu. Picked it up, I think, about 60 seconds ago, so he's charging up towards that standard tier plus Rod of Ages build. As that Wolf Spirit's chasing Chimin right out of M3's jungle. He'll fall back to the Rift Scuttler on the right-hand side of the map instead, as YOLO also going to keep farming up. Very farm-heavy early start to this game, which I think is sort of what we expect, particularly given both Nidalee and Graves are in the same game.
Yeah, it's funny. We open up alongside lanes for either team, but both of them just kind of reverting back to the standard lane phase. And again, it came down to that rotation from Masters 3 to keep their bottom lane in the bottom side of the map as opposed to contesting Rift Herald, which neither team have even looked at yet.
No, and it's paid off for M3 as well, because XY, despite the long lane, is actually reaping a pretty big benefit in CS. Still 20 up, but action on the bottom side. PentaQ going to get headbutted back in with the Pulverize. YOLO's down here as well, looking for the counter gang as PentaQ heals and flashes away. XQ almost gets blown up instantly as there's another TP going to come in for it. XQ still alive though, and now that's a flash forward from PentaQ. He wants the kill, but he's still not going to lock it down. YOLO is able to get it, but Rise is going to get the next kill on Solution as M3 still in the thick of it. Chimin though can join back in as Savoki is forced to flash out. Gosu flashes forward and gets himself a double. Good Poppy ultimate's going to keep them out of the way, but Raphael's finally made his way down. Shu is somehow still alive, but S17 is going to get sniped by a rocket. Alistar falls to YOLO, and what a mess in bottom lane.
Yeah, and it pretty much trades out even slight advantage for Masters 3. Again, 2-3 on your score right there. It was really Raphael coming into the very back half of that fight that really turned the tide, so a bit of over-aggression from Hyper Youth Gaming, not to just take their initial collapse and back up.
Good counter gank from YOLO. M3 do capitalize nicely. It's actually, Graves is still hunting for Chimin, I think. Raphael maybe a little late to the party, but made it despite the lack of teleport. I think we look how the kills break there. 2 kills for Gosu, a kill for Corki, and 2 for YOLO, sort of how that trade works out.
And that's the most important thing about this, is the fact that Rise was the primary benefactor for Hyper Youth Gaming versus Graves on the side of Masters 3. Not that Graves can't be a hard carry. We saw Dandy illustrate that perfectly yesterday, but Graves versus Rise. You know, I'm going to have to give that to the Rise composition.
Well, Raphael with that kill and assist does get himself a Trinity Force, so power incoming as Rotovators on Gosu's side does mean that the people that got kills are powering up nice and quickly as expected. Dash not quite there though for Pentakill, but he's completely trapped Chimin. Just going to wipe him off the top lane. It's
fine, Italy's still strong enough. Meanwhile, in the river.
Savoki battling Gosu. Shoes here as well though. Savoki going to get moved back into the other side, and that's the wrong side. Locked up there by Rise. Chimin gets himself another kill, and M3 very sloppy to get 2 picked off there.
Yeah, unfortunate that Savoki was picked up into the river right there. Raphael is doing quite a bit of damage, and YOLO doesn't have his ultimate, but they're going to go and try to contest this.
Yeah, used it already to try and snipe Alistar, but he's going to chase it down. Raphael very strong. He's going to move Chimin off the buff. Blue goes over to Corki, so successful steal there for M3, but it did cost them 2 people as the dual lane rotated back to top and got themselves heavily punished.
But it needs to be underlined how potent and powerful Raphael is right now. He obviously understands this going forward, continuing without Graves' ultimate. So hopefully they can continue to put him in positions where they can even out this score.
This is the battle of the 2 Corki players in a lot of ways. So not unsurprising to learn that Raphael's on top of the champion. XQ back in the bottom side though. Still clearing out minions, but he'll be okay. And M3 are sticking to their decision, it seems like, as Raphael and Gosu battling again. But Gosu's not going to win this time around. In fact, maybe he will. No, he won't. It's close. Hexdrink are not there yet for Corki, so making it a little tricky to shake off that Rise damage.
Likewise, that's still very scary. Rise is sitting on a incomplete, well, not an incomplete, but a non-stacked Roa. Doesn't have his Seraph's Embrace available yet. We call Rise kind of a 3-item power spike carry. Obviously, the Seraph's Embrace, the Roa at around 25 minutes, and then into a Void Staff. The thing is if you're... Hold on, though. It's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So, what?
XQ wanted to pulverize him. YOLO said no. Trying to bait, but YOLO not biting. Just clears the pink ward instead. This is his domain.
This cow is crazy. He like turned around and he was like, I want it.
I think it's an Alistar player thing. They're like, I'm invincible, right? It's like, no, only when you have your ulti on. People just forget. Still squishy support. As Chimin sneaks into the bottom lane. This could be fun. Yeah, 17's here as well, actually. Hello.
There's a lot of members down here. This could very quickly turn into a massive brawl.
This is quite the ruse here for this battle of the pink ward, but M3 not going to bite, and looks like they are just going to try and push down. But XY's here because they did swap those lanes back up. And with the tower there, HYG can't really pressure. They don't have the comp really designed for sieging. And look at Pentakill. Free time in this top lane. That's how it gets shredded with 3 passive procs.
Yep, and again, people don't normally see Lucian as kind of a sieging champion, but very effective with his double tap passive, so should be able to burn through that. And a superior rotation for Masters 3. They're just kind of eking out these really small advantages, so despite the fact that they're down in kills, they're actually ahead in gold.
Yep, and that will continue as the tower goes down in top side, now about 1,500 up for Master 3. Raphael once again with the package, looking around to see if he can't start a fight here. Might start this one onto Gosu. Gosu uses the ulti. Not a bad time to come in. Chimin actually not spotted, but he is over the wall there.
Oh, no.
Oh, he goes in for it! YOLO, though. No CC between these two, unfortunately.
Immediate regret.
Yep.
The immediate flash.
Pounce in, flash out. Takes some damage, but...
He had so many tools to check that brush without his face. He had the trap. He had the spear. He's like, nah. Let's just get in there.
That's how Chimin likes to play, but does regret it certainly as he burns a summoner spell. Will live to tell the tale, though. Thankfully for him, Savoki was not waiting in the brush.
That's just my favorite.
Or Nautilus. They're the only 2 champions who could face check and not instantly die, I feel like.
He would have instantly died if he didn't have flash.
Oh, that's true. Oh, 100%. Would have died before the pounce cooldown came back up. It's dragging back up again. M3 going to look to continue their snowball of this potential objective and take the second away. HYG, the jungler, just burnt their flash and got chunked, so can't really contest for it. And that's 2 very clean dragons here.
Again, another kind of micro map play from Masters 3, eking them another small advantage. We'll see if they continue to build and if it'll be enough to this leveling up Rise. Does have his tier 2 boots completed, which is, of course, always important because Rise needs the bonus movement speed.
Certainly does. It's real slow otherwise. This Chimin looking for the red buff again. He's going to take it away, so good counter jungling. You can see that Runic Echo's doing work with the Rotovators almost done. Chimin will get stronger and stronger, and pretty quickly here as well, as YOLO needs to go back and shop probably by that Hex Drinker that it seems like he's building towards next. Other than that, though, just a lot of farming as the Rift Herald finally gets some attention. Chimmin going to take it away with a minute 40 up till Baron. It's a little late, but they'll take it.
It's going to be really important to see where it goes if Chimmin's going to keep it to continue to empower his jungle advantage. We do see that it's 96 to 86 CS, so quickly walking away with it. But instead, they're going to go ahead and give it to 17. So see if the team groups up around him and tries to push for an inner.
Yep, maybe some time to get some turrets down, as they are down 1 to 2 in turrets currently. XQ, though, Blade of the Ruin King done with the Rune and Turrican very much on the way. Recurve bow there, so XQ getting stronger, but a Zeal there for PentaQ means that these two AD carries should meet at the 2-item mark relatively quickly. And once again, we sort of fall back into a pretty familiar farming pattern. We actually swapped the lanes back again. And HYG, 19 minutes in, seems like they're happy to play a long lane phase, which I think, given the strength of these two teams, we sort of expect. They're used to playing in lanes.
No, yeah. The lane structure obviously gives them kind of a very clear-cut goal, and it was very easy to understand, you know, this is what we're working towards, this is the goal that I'm going to get, as opposed to trying to make cross-map decisions. Masters 3 is still looking a little bit more like the more veteran team, despite that you have more veteran members on HYG.
A little more crisp, have to agree, at least at this point in the game. Baron up in 30 seconds, though, but I don't think we'll be seeing him for a little while. As YOLO jumped on there by Chim and teleport down for M3. Once again, we are going to go aggressive. Ulti out onto XQ. He's going to cause problems for Kalista. YOLO takes out Chim on the other side as well. Now XQ's locked up as PentaQ chases down XQ and gets him out. S17 is going to kick one away with the ultimate, but PentaQ's still fighting around. Poppy does take out YOLO on the other side. Now Ghosty going to flash in and take out PentaQ. HYG managed to turn things around, but it's an even trade so far.
Doesn't look like anyone is going to chase. Looked like disaster initially from HYG, but again, another really great collapse. 17 with the teleport from behind. He's able to immediately get into the back line, delete 2 members. Got the good flank from Rise, Gosu, who has the ghost. We didn't get to touch on that. Didn't take the double teleport.
I could have sworn I thought he teleported down there.
Nope,
so
just walked.
He's just really speedy.
Yep.
I like it.
He's got his Pumas.
Certainly does.
Laced up, boots with the fur. He's ready to go.
Certainly was. Made it down once again for another kill. His 3rd of the game, actually.
And he's constantly beating Corki down here.
Yes.
Which is the other really important thing. Naturally, as soon as Rise walks into Fog of War, if Masters 3 don't have the vision necessary to see where he goes, Corki has to go the long way. He can't walk blindly into a snare and just start eating massive amounts of damage.
We cannot. I've seen Gosa already win a lot of those trades early, despite the power that Raphael currently holds on Corki. Back in topside, the XQ and XY, in S17. Doing battle. S17 with a good slam into the wall, though. Just Poppy things. Beating up tanks.
He's got a long way to run.
He actually might get the kill here. W wears off, so not going to get that one. No slow here for no Iceborne.
He has flash, though, and 17 doesn't, so if he uses it effectively,
there we go. Very nice flash. Gets carried not to another stun. We'll be okay, but very impressive for S17 to just get enough pressure for a summoner there. You can see the power of Poppy. HYG feel like 1v1 at least, or 2v2. They're starting to power up in their respective lanes.
I completely agree with that. The only issue that I have is how the Rift Herald was utilized. Yes, it was a great teleport from 17, but I actually would have preferred to see the Rift Herald utilized in the bottom lane to pick up a freestanding gold for Hyper Youth Gaming.
Yep.
But unfortunately, after that last scuffle, Rift Herald is dead. They lost all of their pushing power, and they kind of evened out some kills, but they didn't make any more advantages in translating those kills into an objective.
And you can definitely see the bloodthirst in some of these younger teams, just wanting to go for fights, get ahead, start the snowball going individually. HYG still with that kill lead, but the gold's nice and even as Chimmin doesn't really want to face check the old Corki, especially with the Essence Reaver on the way and almost completed. It's got the biggest components of it with the Essence Reaver and the, sorry, not the Essence Reaver, the BF sword. And the Warhammer already done. As Gosu now in trouble. Good tag there from Savoki. See you, mate. As Lucian takes him out.
Danger ping, danger ping, danger ping. Suddenly 4 people in his lane right now, but that's massive because that's your primary wave clear. Rise is going to have your AoE clear when you pop your ultimate, whereas otherwise you're relying entirely on Kalista. She does have the Hurricane available to her, but this is what we talked about. This sieging comp, if they ever get any sort of advantage, your towers will just melt.
And they do. 380 carries is more than enough to take that one out. Poppy moves up the ulti. S17 actually fires it. Could have cancelled, I believe. Whatever, it's fine. We'll shrug.
The frustration.
Yeah,
ultimate.
that's almost what it felt like.
The tantrum.
It was a bit. 40 seconds till the next dragon, though.
But this is the big window for Masters 3, where their composition is entirely online. They have the Lucian, they have the Corki. They'll get stronger from here, but not much, especially in comparison to Hyper Youth Gaming's composition. So they need to take advantage. They need to start eating up all of this freestanding gold and try to snowball from here and close it out. I think that they have about, I'm going to say 15 to 20 minutes effectively before things start getting really scary the other way.
Well, certainly got at least 10 minutes of power to play with. So we'll see what they do. We'll check back in around the 30-minute mark, depending on where we are. M3, though, actually get a reasonably good gold lead off of that fight. 2,600 gold or so up in the lead. So finally starting to make some distance, but you're right, they do need to carry that momentum through. And with Dragon back up, HYG might look to sneak this one away. M3 are not in position right now.
Looks like it will be contested, though, as they're rushing down towards their mid lane. So Hyper Gaming are trying to get the inside track by applying pressure towards the mid and then cheating back into the river to take control of vision. Fortunately, Masters 3 had a great response in that they put half of their team in the river, half of their team, and by half I mean Savoki, into the mid lane, and are able to kind of body block and cut off the river.
You can see Raphael ready with the package again. I think it may have worn off. No, don't think so. S17 looking for another flank, but he's already in position around the other area. HYG going for the pincer here in the river. But M3 will happily fight you. Dragon resets, and now HYG want the turret, but M3 don't really want to give it up. They're going to move Raphael back towards that turret. And now HYG comes straight back. S17 is in for it. YOLO actually straight in the front line. Has to flash out of the way. Does use the ulti for a bit of disengage. And XY taking up a whole host of damage. But HYG have more than enough damage to try and clean this out. And Savoki is going to go down. Raphael just can't get in there as XY falls as well. Very messy from M3. And HYG get 2 kills and they'll get the Dragon as well.
And again, it's Gosu's positioning right there, standing on the back half and pretty much just effectively zoning out Corki. Like you said, Raphael wasn't able to get in and hit majority of people with his AoE splash damage, which is a huge component missing from Masters 3 team fight.
Had a second item built up as well, so would have been good damage to add into it. Instead, HYG have prepped this wave. Going to look topside, but here's this fight again.
So you have a really good initiation from Hyper Youth Gaming. Obviously, look at all of that AoE damage. Even Rise gets on the back half of this and steps forward. But watch Gosu what he does. He then immediately turns back, and Corki cannot get out. He's pretty much just zoning him away.
Yep. You can see Raphael. He's trying to poke in with the rockets, but that's not enough. And big win there for HYG. So they do not take a turret, I don't think. They might have got one.
But the cool thing is how that was set up. So because Hyper Youth Gaming had the inside track and control of the minion wave, they effectively got Corki locked out of that fight because they applied pressure mid, which forced Raphael to respond to the wave, and then he couldn't cut back in to assist his team and get on the same side.
What is Raphael doing here, actually?
Speaking of same side.
Face check everyone here. He's just dead.
He realizes that he's not on blue team, right?
I'm not sure after that, to be honest. PentaQ and S17 fighting, but S17's winning. Lucian just can't cut away from the Poppy. It's the issue whenever Poppy gets straight on top of you. Good flash. Could be enough to disengage, but S17 starting to really muscle his way around Summoner's Rift.
And we talked about how they probably had about a 15 to 20 minute mark before things started getting really scary. Well, this Rise is now 4-1-3, completely online, doesn't have the Void Staff, but you don't have the MR built up to justify.
Yeah, and actually, once again, HYG might have found a catch, but it's actually them who's caught away. Good ulti there as well. They're trying to chase YOLO for another one, but they'll take XY instead. XQ able to get a kill as Chimin solos out Savoki in the top half of that fight. Now back to Baron. HYG starting to really pick up headway. Every pick is starting to convert.
This is slipping away from Masters 3's hands. HYG will just, again, continue to scale harder and faster from this. We do have YOLO up and alive, though. Possibly a smite steal, though it's getting burned down quickly, and he's still competing against Callista.
Yeah, Shu's just going to disengage him, but he's actually going to get engaged on now instead. Poppy, oh my god, that's rude. Gosu blows him up. Straight into the Poppy W after a headbutt. Nowhere to go. 3
free kills, the Baron.
A gold lead.
Hyper Youth Gaming in full control of the scaling composition.
Well, all of a sudden, a few picks around the jungle, and the game has flipped back over. I mentioned M3 were about 2k ahead. HYG swiftly approaching that themselves. And everything's just looking good. Callista's ready. Rise will be very close to that Void Staff as he goes back, picks himself up the Amp Tome, and Chimin is doing ridiculous things along with S17. They both have 3 items.
That's so sad, too. Savoki is so close to the locket of the Iron Solari, but just sitting on the Aegis right now. And then Rise is going to come in with the Void Staff, and it's almost like too little too late, buddy.
And that's what it feels like for M3. They had that great push in mid. They were able to take 2 towers. You felt what they comp wanted to do, but
Raphael just got locked out. The thing is that was when their composition was strong, and it was a lot of it was entirely on the back of this Corki. Raphael was doing massive damage, but if he's not able to compete in 2 team fights.
And his crit's delayed. Going for a Hex Drinker now because he needs the stats against the magic that he uses.
Because Rise is just now ahead of the clock, 5-1-5.
S17 also pressuring with the Baron buff. Happily able to take out this bottom tier 2. M3 can't really defend because they'll get cut off in their own jungle. So HYG They only had 2 turrets for now. They're actually going to hold it too because Raphael's here. I think they want to kill. Yep, they do. Raphael going to get locked up.
Here comes Shu.
Shu, is he here in time? Great ulti there from Poppy. Chansey sees wonderful. And that 17 slaps him down.
But the team fight is pursuing.
All right. XY tries to make a flank happen, but XQ is going to keep running away. Good flash there from the Kalista as the Fates Call is going to re-engage with a support. Rips through everybody else, and M3 get desperate for that one. Gosu, though, going to go straight up into YOLO's face, but almost gets taken out in the other half of it. HYG, though, they win the team fight, and they'll push forward.
With everyone blinking and dead, like you said, this is going to for sure be an inhibitor. Possibly more if they choose to continue this push. They're pushing into the base.
Yeah, they're going to look for at least one turret here. They might even look for a few more here. YOLO pretty strong. S17's going to lock him up, though. Plenty of CC, and that's going to be a kill. PentaQ, the only one now left alive, but I don't think he can stop this on his own. Death time is very long at this stage. Corki up in 10. Savoki's up right about now, but HYG are going to push through. They'll take down the Nexus, flip the game around, and game 1 goes to them.
We talked about this before, that Masters 3 was the only team that Hyper Youth Gaming were able to defeat in the regular season, and so far in this best of 5, it looks to hold true.
Well, game 1 certainly goes over to them. M3, just a little bit of sloppiness really cost them in the mid game.
It's funny too, because their early game looked a little bit stronger. Yes, there were some slight errors from either team, but Masters 3 on the whole were playing the map much stronger than Hyper Youth Gaming, just kind of eking out these small objective advantages and kind of ballooning a small gold lead, but unable to capitalize on it because the gold lead went into the Corki power spike, and when Corki was strong and online, they didn't get to utilize it, and then Rise just ran past him.
It was just that one fight that really cost them, and it's so weird to see because I look at these two teams. I honestly thought if you covered up the nameplates and I knew who was playing, that M3 were playing HYG's game that game around, because HYG played quite slow in that early game and then just did wonderfully towards the mid and late game, which is usually where I expect M3 to be in this series, but these highlights were great.
But it makes sense that Hyper Youth Gaming would play slow in the early game. Against Savoki got a great disruption against Nidalee's jungle, really slowing her down. It wasn't until about the 10-12 minute mark that Nidalee was able to finally find the CS discrepancy over Graves due to the interruption that Savoki started, and that slowed down the early game massively.
Well, these fights were great here. This was the big one that really snowballed all things out, because you can see, like you mentioned, Gosu's zoning out Corki in the top left. Really good team fighting for HYG in that mid game. They just, yes, M3 kind of gave them a few kills that they didn't need to give away, but they were set up well by HYG, and they closed very well once they got a lead, which is actually what I expect from them. It wasn't, I didn't expect them to fall behind and get a lead, but once they got a lead, they did what I have seen, which is continue to get ahead.
Exactly, and that's the important aspect here, and why it's cool to see the evolution, the maturing of Hyper Youth Gaming, you know, taking their experience from the LPL. The fact that they were able to translate a disadvantage to an advantage is massive, and a lot of that was in the power pick of Rise.
Yeah, Rise is just one of those champions that the damage is still absurd. Like, he's been picked up in top lane, picked up in mid lane. He's not that popular, at least in the later weeks of the LPL, but Raphael looks very comfortable on the pick, and I believe it's a pick he's been known for as well, but you just saw how easy it was for them to start fights between Poppy, Alistar, Poppy, Braum? Yeah, Poppy, Braum, and... No, it was Alistar. Don't you trick me. Poppy, Alistar, and Rise. As soon as someone was out of position, CC everywhere. Well, great stuff there, looking real good. We are going to go to a break. When we return, though, the promotion tournament will return. Don't go too far. Game 2 is coming up.